When you ask me to speak about slavery, you are asking me to speak of my African ancestors. I've visited with unnamed and unknown ancestors in dreams and imagined them crowding around me with curiosity and delight. I have searched since then to find an authentic way back to be in communion with the ancestors who may or may not have been slaves. When you ask me to speak of my African ancestors, I know and you know, we both know, that the first ideas that come to mind are of human beings suffering pain and degradation, suffering great sorrow and loss. I have tried to imagine into this experience for a long time. I've read books, good books, like Dessa Rose, Beloved, or Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl, and too many others to recall right now. And these books have taken me part of the way into this imagining, but it never felt close enough. The night before joining the slave dwelling workshop, I'm at home writing, trying to prepare. As I write the word slave, a strong voice in my head thunders, "We are not slaves. We are not slaves." Is this my voice alone? Am I avoiding something? I had jumped at the chance to sleep in a cellar once inhabited by enslaved Americans. I thought that finally I'd be able to press my nose right up to the glass of that world and look right in. My expectations were a vague mix of fear, superstition, and excitement. Yes, I've inherited my Jamaican grandmother's superstitious nature. Would I be overwhelmed with seismic shifts of emotion, or maybe injured by a malevolent spirit? The most challenging part of this overnight, aside from the momentary discomfort, is my fear and anticipation of what collective presence might be revealed to me. Or maybe, finally, I would see with crystal clarity the world as my ancestors saw it, felt it, lived it, and breathed it. None of that happened. Instead, I spent a collegial night in my sleeping bag on a clean swept floor of an historic cellar surrounded by fellow writers and seekers. The conversation is ongoing. Tamika is on her luxurious air mattress. Tina Lynn has her hood over her head and is scrolling down her iPad as people talk. Terry James is still wearing his Union soldier uniform and hat with a gold bugle on the crown. It almost feels cozy here with all 8 of us sitting up cross-legged, tired, yet anticipatory on our sleeping bags. I'm sure that we're all wondering what this night will be. Tamika asked Terry if he has a particular ritual when he does the overnight in slave dwellings. Terry raises his arms, which are in shackles. "This is what I do," he says, looking sad. He talks about a cold night in South Carolina when he could see the moon through the cracks in the ceiling boards. The room is damp, but not uncomfortably damp, and there are 2 fans moving the air, which also makes it cold. I'm looking straight at the tall cooking hearth decorated with LCD candles, a small vase of daisies, and a wooden image of Elegba, the Yoruba deity, both trickster and guardian of the pathway, who I brought from home. We are 8 people unified by shared space and shared purpose, each of us scribbling on our pages. This feels intimate, like family, and this is surprising to me. I'm feeling grimy and tired, but good, because I imagine the spirit of this place is glad for our presence. And beyond that, I imagine the spirits of my own ancestors are glad for my attention and my intention. There's a feeling of devotion in this experience. This is prayer, the way I can accept it. I'm feeling very focused here, connected, maybe to my co-dwellers, but certainly to my own purpose. This feeling is surprising to me because I think I was fearing trauma and horror from this experience. We don't know, but we long to know. I fall asleep thinking about those who lived here. Were they too hot or too cold in their cellars? What happened if the wife was summoned to the big house? What will the ancestor show me? Upon waking in the morning, one dream is crystal clear. She's a thin black girl, maybe 20 or 22 years old, her hair combed into a small natural that halos her head. I've never seen her before, but on this night, she appears to me in a series of confused dreams. Now we're in a room somewhere with others, and we are dancing together. It's a funny dance, some kind of folk dance. We hold hands and pull in close up on demi-point of one foot, the other leg bent at the knee. Then we pull away, still holding hands. Then back in close, each of us rising onto the same demi-point of one foot, holding the other leg bent and poised in the air until we fall away, out of the small circle and back onto 2 feet. It's an odd, solemn dance, and I awake with the impression of this girl vivid in my mind. 1 foot in, 2 feet out. Pull your partner close, then fall away. Climbing the steps out of the cellar, I cross the street to the house with the indoor plumbing. Splashing water on myself, reviewing my dream, fishing for details, I'm suddenly filled with a sense of love that wells up in my body. Love, love, love. This was our dance of love. I'm left with a residual feeling of being pulled away from the people I love most in the world. So this, after all that tense expectancy, was my meeting with the ancestors through dance. We met in a space and we danced. This is what the ancestors showed me. No matter the physical and emotional pain we've endured, the ugliness of a people and a culture that tried to break our humanity, reduce us to less than beasts, that tried to grind our divine nature to dust, in the face of all that, we, the children of enslaved Africans, are still connected to each other and to all humanity by powerful bonds of love and reverence. Does this surprise me? Not a bit. I've felt this truth without words ever since I heard my first gospel song many years ago. I, who am a Jewish Unitarian agnostic with no previous exposure to the tradition of gospel music, heard clearly the deep power of the gospel voice. I knew then, without words, that I was hearing the voice of divinity in bondage. And when I discovered African dance, after many years of struggling to feel myself in the rigid shapes of ballet, modern, and jazz, I knew that I had found my true language, because dance is a language. It's a language that my ancestors speak. And I have always known myself as a dancer. Since my first toddling steps, struggling to keep up with the first dancers in my life, my mother and her twin sister, I have always been a dancer. And whether I've known it or not, I have always been and will continue to be in communion with my ancestors. I am their story, and they are mine. And I will always keep dancing. Thank you.